Well, let me go ahead and get started. I appreciate all of you being here, and I'm not quite sure how all of you got the links. I have emailed out links to clients that Wendelin Consulting Group has worked with in the past, um, and that this is part of now what I'm doing for my job online. You know, we've all had to transition to online learning, so I'm offering these free webinars or meetings, um, and so I'm opening it up to other people also, just so you know, in this time of when we're all struggling to determine the best way to meet the needs of our kids, you know, we can support each other. Um, so I do thank you all for joining us. This is a relatively small group. Um, like I said, somewhere around 10 or so people registered. So I do like the option of being able to chat and see each other. And so I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and mute yourself just for a few minutes, but feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. And that'll just keep the kids and the dogs and all of the extraneous noise from kind of popping up as we're talking. But I do want to make sure everybody is on and can hear me. Mary, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Kathy, you just joined us. Can you hear me? Those of you that just joined, if you want to share your video, there's a little button down in the bottom left corner that has a little camera. And if you click on that, you should be able to share your video with us. Yeah. I was on a meeting the other day at about, I think it was 8 in the morning, and only a couple of us were brave enough to share our video that early. Most people had just gotten out of bed, so. All right, so today we're going to talk about, I'm going to share some slides with you in a moment, but we're going to talk about conferencing software, video conferencing software, and using that with kids. Because this is the new normal, as everybody's calling it. And so I have a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask you. Let me share my slides with you. So hopefully this will work. Okay, can you all see my slides now? Okay, yes. All right. And if you, like I said, if you have a question and you want to unmute yourself, feel free to interrupt if I'm going too fast, or if I need to explain something more, or wave your hand, you know, to get my attention, because I can see all of you as well as what I'm doing here on the screen. All right, so again, I'm doing this through Wendelin.
Tim, this is Kathy.
Yes.
I cannot hear you.
So then you're probably having a trouble with your sound. Go to your chat, and I know she can't hear me.
Can she hear anyone? No.
Am I the only one who cannot hear Tim?
I can send her a text message if you want, Tim.
I'm chatting with her, but I don't know if she knows to check her chat box.
Yeah.
I'm calling her right now.
Okay, tell her to check her chat box, but there's a way to see which speakers she's listening to.
Hello. Hello. Okay. So now you're on, Kathy.
Lost my chat box now.
Tim, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I am doing this through, like I said, through Wendelin Consulting, and I've either done professional development in your school, or our tech guys are in your school doing technology. So I just wanted to put that plug out there. That's why we're offering this. And that is my email address. Today we're talking about conferencing software for remote learning. So just a quick raise of hands. How many of you are going to have to do some sort of live video conferencing with your students? Okay.
excuse me, Jennifer is asking, oh, somebody's answering her.
Okay, is she unable to hear us also?
But she said, should she be able to see herself? And then
Okay.
someone told her to click on the video button.
Yep, thank you.
She will. There she is.
Oh, and hi, Remy. If you can hear me, you
I
can
can
turn on.
hear you.
Can you turn on your video down in the bottom left corner?
No.
There's a little camera. It should have a red line through it.
Got it.
Okay. Looks like you've got some helpers joining
Always.
us.
Always.
So conferencing software. So this, of course, has been just kind of thrust upon us, you know, and so we're all trying to figure out what the best solution is. And so I wanted to share some of the more popular, inexpensive software out there so that you can connect with your students. And I've been reading a lot about what's the most important thing right now. And I think that it's an agreement that just connecting with our students right now is probably the most important thing. Checking in on them, making sure they're okay. You know, older students should be given some assignments and things to work on, but for those younger students, it's more about just checking in on them and having them see your face and being able to talk to them and those kinds of things. So that's why this is so important. Wow, we have got lots of people. All right, so if you want these slides, you can write this address down or type it into your browser. I'm going to talk in a minute about how to see both screens, but I don't want to lose anybody yet. So this is case sensitive, but this is just a shortened link to the Google Slides that we're talking about right now. So make sure you write it down exactly as it is here. And I'll give you a minute to do that. If you want to see the Zoom people and like your own web browser, there is a way to, if you push escape, then your browser will, you can shrink your browser down so you can kind of move them around your windows, around your window. But I'm afraid to have too many, to have some people who aren't familiar with the software do that and then lose me. So just be aware that that's something that you will need to practice if you decide to use something like Zoom. Did everybody get this address?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to move on here. So there are some questions that I need to have you guys, you don't have to answer these to the group, but just think about these things as we're going through the slides today, because these are going to ultimately kind of determine what you're going to use as far as video conferencing software. So like, how large of a group are you going to be working with? If you are wanting to conference with your whole class at once, you know, 20 or 25, or if you have a smaller class, 15, or are you doing maybe teletherapy? I know we have some therapists on here. I see Aisha is on here. She's a therapist. So, you know, one-on-one. Are you going to be calling your kids, or are you going to be calling their parents? You know, younger kids are not going to be able to operate the software independently. So you're going to maybe conference with their parents and be able to see the students then. So look at these questions. How large of a group? Are you using a computer or tablet? Oh, there's a typo there. I'm going to suggest using a computer unless you have no other option as far as calling your students. You just are able to see more of the screen and operate it a little bit better. Are your kids using a computer or a tablet? If you're a one-to-one Chrome school and they have Chromebooks, then they're all going to probably be consistent. But if you're working with kindergartners and you're calling parents on their phones, they're all going to have different phones or different operating systems. So you just need to kind of be thinking about those things. Are you a Google school? If you have no money or no budget, or your district is not purchasing something for you, then that's something we'll talk about. Do you need to record your session? So again, if you're maybe in high school and you're doing a live session with your students and you have a couple kids that maybe are absent or not able to tune in, then recording your session is important because then you can post that and have the students that weren't able to join see it later. And then what kind of internet do you have? And I'm gonna show you something that's, if you are not familiar with this site, let me, can't see my screen here. Don't do this now, but if you have a chance, go to speedtest.net, because what this will tell you is how fast your internet is at home. And I'm assuming since you're all on this call right now, you obviously have high-speed internet, but there's something important I want to show you, especially when you're doing Zoom calls and things. So if you have cable internet, which is Comcast or Xfinity, there is something that you need to be aware of, and I'm going to show you as soon as my internet probably now is bogged down because of the conference, what we're doing. But there is an upload speed and there's a download speed, and you've heard those terms before, upload and download. But cable, which is Comcast and Xfinity, the infrastructure years ago was built for fast download speeds, but not necessarily upload speeds, because people were not sending information back to Comcast originally. The cable channels were being funneled into your house, but no information was necessarily leaving your house. And so what they're finding is that the upload speed on cable internet is, it struggles when you're doing video because you're sending video out. So you're uploading that video. And especially if you're doing other things, or if you have other kids in the house using the internet at the same time, you may run into trouble. So just be aware of that. If you have fiber optics or some other service, that's probably better, because they don't have necessarily that difference between the upload and the download speed. Mine's actually opposite right now, just because I'm pulling in a lot of things that my kids are on. But usually your upload speed will be a lot less than your download speed. So I wanted to share that with you, just if you're having internet connection issues and you're having trouble with Zoom or some other software while you are conferencing with your students, do that speed test check, and that'll give you some guidance on maybe you need to call your internet provider and see if there's anything that they can do. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Okay, so
I have a question. What would
Yeah.
be a good number? Like
so
you just had, is that good or?
well, so when nobody is on the internet at my house, my download speed is around 100 megabits is what they measure it in. That is super fast. You know, that's a really, really good speed. If you're anywhere above 25 to 30, then you're fine. That's your download speed. My upload speed is usually between 4 and 5. So there's usually a huge difference. Right now, when I just tested it with you guys, because I'm pulling in all this video and my kids are on, that's why my download speed was so low, because everybody's on it. So if you're like 1 or 2, then you're going to struggle. If you're 10 or more, then you should be okay. Is that good?
Yeah, was that the upload? The one?
Either one. If you're around 1 or 2 upload or download, you're going to struggle. And I know some people, I don't know if any of you live in rural areas, but some people in rural areas have satellite and those kinds of things. And so that can be a real issue, where they have weak signals, those kinds of things. So keep that in mind. One other tip I'm going to show you. I'm a little overboard on this. I will share that I'm overboard. But if you have the option of using multiple screens, then that is helpful. So this is my setup. I said I'm a little overboard. I have 3 screens. This is my computer. I have an external monitor that I just had extra laying around. It is plugged into my computer. And then my iPad also is plugged into my computer. It helps because, like, right now I can see all of you as well as my laptop, and then I can see the Zoom conference. So it helps when you're trying to manage your class, especially if you have to present, then you can see what you're presenting as well as the students. Otherwise, your screens get really small and it's really hard to kind of manage seeing everything. So there is if you have an iPad and your computer, there is an app called Duet, D-U-E-T. And that app will, when you run it, and I think there's a cost. It's not terrible, but it might be $5 or $10. When you run that app, then it allows you to have both hooked up to your computer, so you can have two screens on your computer. And if you have an external monitor laying around, which I don't know how many of you do, but those of us who have a garage full of junk, I had one sitting around, so I hooked that up so that you can see it. Okay, so let's get into, this is kind of the agenda. This is how I broke up this session for today. I'm going to talk about programs and apps that will work for one-to-one or small group conferencing. So this would be like if you're wanting to just call one family at a time, one or two families at a time maybe, or if you're doing teletherapy. So we'll talk about those first. And then those of you that have medium groups, so maybe if you're going to try to do your whole classroom, so 5 to 30 students. And then the largest groups, I don't know if any of you are going to do this, but if you have groups that are really large, or if you're doing multiple classes, then you would want to look at webinars. And so those, I'm just going to mention those just so you can take a look at that. Okay, so let me move on here. Okay, so let's start talking about one-to-one calling or small groups. And I'm mentioning Google Voice because Google Voice is not video conferencing necessarily, but it is the option of giving you a different phone number so that when you call parents, either on their landline or on their cell phone, your personal phone number does not show up. I know that was a concern of some of the people I work with. So if you go to Google Voice, and I'm actually going to attempt to do some of this here. You can't, so one other thing, you cannot use your school email to sign into this. This is part of the Google suite of products. But they assume that if you're using your Google email that your school has a phone number already. So this would be like if you're running a small business and you want to have a business phone number, then, but you need to use a personal Gmail account. All right. And so when you go to voice.google.com, it's going to ask you to pick a phone number. And I live in Peoria. There are no 309 numbers available. So I have to pick a different city that this phone number will come from. So let's pick Morris, which is an 815 area code. So you pick your number, and then you basically link it to your cell phone. So you're going to use your cell phone to make the calls. You can also use your computer, but you're going to use your cell phone to make the calls, but it will appear as if it's coming from another number. And then that can be your business number if you want. I'm going to try to get in and just show you what that looks like on the computer. So there is an app that you download on your phone, and then you make your calls from that app. You can also text, and you have your own voicemail. So it's basically like getting a second line on your cell phone, and which is handy and helpful. All right, so this is my Google Voice. I'm signed in, and this is on my computer. You can make calls from your computer. I have my dial pad over here. I have texting over here, and I have my voicemail over here. So anything that comes into this is coming from that other number. The only drawback, I was researching this for some therapists that are trying to call their parents, and the parents don't recognize the number, so they're not answering. And then, of course, some of those parents never set up their email box, or it's full, so they can't even leave a message. This doesn't really solve that problem because it's going to look like a phone number from another city. So, the parents are probably screening their calls. My only suggestion for that would be to text them from this number first and say, hey, I'm trying to call you. This is your therapist. Please answer your phone when I call from this number. If they don't have texting, then you're kind of in the same boat. You just need to make those repeated calls trying to get a hold of them. But I just wanted to mention that it's not video conferencing necessarily, but it does help you with communication to your parents. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my slides here. A lot of these I'm sure you're familiar with, but I just want to kind of mention them. I put on this sheet how many people can be on the different kinds of software we have. Facebook Messenger is good if you're friends with maybe the parents on Facebook. I hope you're not friends necessarily with your students on Facebook. I don't know that some people might be, but you can Facebook message up to 6 people at once. So again, that would, they have to be friends with you on Facebook and those kinds of things, but it is an option to use. FaceTime is another option. I'm sure those of you who have iPhones are familiar with that. You can FaceTime multiple people at the same time, up to 32 people. And so, that's something that you might want to do. But again, if you're using your FaceTime from your phone, then you might be sending out your personal phone number or your personal email to all those people. So you got to see how comfortable you are with that. There is, yes.
I have a quick question. This is Kathy.
Yeah.
On the FaceTime, does everyone have to have an Apple phone?
Yes, and I was going to mention that. Yes, everybody has to have Apple, either an iPad or an iPhone, to do that. So if you know who you're calling and you know that maybe some of your parents don't have that or some of your students don't have that, there is another app called Duo, and it's just like FaceTime, but it's Apple and Android. It's actually a Google product. It comes on your Android phone. So it's basically Android's version of FaceTime, but you can download it onto your Apple iPhone and use it. And the FaceTime, the Duo, and the Google Voice all link usually to your phone number. I mean, like they're using your phone number and your contacts on your phone to reach the people that you want to reach.
Okay, thank you. I was just trying to do that this morning and we were struggling because we did not all have iPhones. And
right. So you'll just have to let everybody know that you're going to use Duo, and Duo, if they have an iPhone, they will have to download it first.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Skype, which, of course, has been around forever. That's probably the original video conferencing. It's still around. It is actually owned by Microsoft now. So if you're a Microsoft school, I don't know if anybody's a Microsoft school, but that would be preferred to any of the Google products because Microsoft owns Skype. And so you can up to 50 on Skype, or you can just do individual calls with that. And then Google Hangout, and this is one that I've heard a lot of people asking questions about. Hangouts is part of the Google suite. So if you're a Google school, you have access to Hangouts unless your administrator has turned it off, which in that case, you just need to have your tech guy or your principal turn it on for you. And you can have up to 10 people on that. But all of these are really meant for those one-to-one or small group video conferencing options. They don't allow you to record your screen. They don't allow you to schedule calls. They're all more just like you send out an email or something and say, hey, we're going to get on a Google Duo at 2 o'clock, and then everybody just is available at that time. So Does anybody have any questions about those? I'm really thinking of these would be for those therapists or people that just want to check in one-on-one with their student, and you just need a quick way to get a hold of, and you want a video and see how they're doing. You would use some of these products. All right. Moving on here, and by the way, I'm going to talk for probably about maybe another 15 minutes, and then I'll have plenty of time for questions. So if you have any questions or want me to go into more detail, let me know at the end. So here's the big ones that have been out recently. Zoom, which is what we're on right now, is a video conferencing software that is cross-platform. That means it can be used on any product, basically. I'm running it from my Mac right now. You can run it from Windows. You can even run it from your iPhone or your iPad or your Android. And they have a free version. The problem with the free trial version is that it only goes for 40-minute sessions. So that you might think that that's enough, and that's fine. But just also know, I'm going to talk about this a little more in detail. The free trial version is not HIPAA compliant. Okay, and I didn't even think about that until some people were bringing that up. If you're doing virtual IEP meetings or therapy or anything where you're talking about the medical needs of your students, then you really need to make sure that your software you're using is HIPAA compliant. Slide up. So the version of Zoom, I'm going to actually get into it and just show you some real quick things here.
Tim, just to comment on that.
Yes.
There was a nationwide relaxation of HIPAA compliance.
Great. I did not know that.
Not that they relaxed the HIPAA rules, but I guess the regulating office has said that they are not going to pursue it during this time, and that they are kind of opening up those avenues for people that need it.
Okay, great. And all of I'll mention this right now, all of the Google products, if you're going through your school, are HIPAA compliant as long as whoever signed up for your Google school, so way back when they set up your emails and everything, there's a checkbox that says that that you and Google agree on the use of it, and it's just a little checkbox. The guy I work with, Jay Wendell, and he went in and checked that box for some of the schools he works with. So whoever set it up originally will just need to go in and check that box, and then it makes it HIPAA compliant as long as you abide by the agreement that you just agreed to. So it's not something you guys would necessarily worry about, but just make sure that your tech guy has done that. So I'm in the Zoom website right now, and the thing about Zoom, so this does cost $15 approximately a month to use, but the nice thing is you have unlimited meeting times. You can have up to 100 participants, and you can schedule your meetings, and that's something that some of the other software doesn't have. So you can have like open office hours and have the same link and say, I'm going to be available between 2 and 3, and you send everybody the link and they can just log on during those times. Or you can schedule different meetings. Like I have all these different meetings scheduled, and they have their own meeting ID, and then you can start and stop, and you can manage participants and things like that. So that's one benefit of using Zoom. The other benefit of Zoom is that you can record, like I'm recording this right now, and then I'm going to put it on a YouTube channel, just so you guys know, so that you can access it later, or if anybody's absent, they can access it. You can send that video out in an email or put it in your Google Drive, or however you want to manage your video afterwards. But that way, other people have access to it. I do not believe Google Meet allows you to record, and we're going to talk about Google Meet in a minute.
Can you record only if you get the paid version?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think that's one of the options of the paid version. Yes, it's been a long time since I've used the free version, so I don't know. But you could check that out. there's a, and I can't show you my screen because
Tim, I think you can, think you can record on the
on the free.
free version, because I was looking at that yesterday, and we're using that for the school. So yeah, and yeah, we can record, and
And there's also an option for sharing your screen. Like I'm
Yes.
sharing my screen right now, but you can also share your iPad. If you are doing something on your iPad and you want your students to see it, you can, there's a whiteboard that you can use in Zoom. So it's a pretty comprehensive program. And that would be beneficial, I think, for older students, middle school and high school, especially when you're really having to kind of teach some content as well as have class participation and those kinds of things. So that's kind of the difference between this and maybe using one of the other programs that we mentioned earlier. Well, we'll talk about webinars briefly, but if you happen to need a larger group where you're just presenting and your participants are just maybe chatting off to the side and just paying attention, not necessarily participating in a live video session. Zoom does have a webinar option, and it's kind of expensive. I think it might be $100 a month or something, or $50 a month. I don't know, but I'm not sure if anybody really needs that. So when you set up a Zoom meeting, then you would use Google Classroom or email or some other way to let the participants know that you're having this meeting. So when I, here's the URL, and then I can just click copy the invitation, and it gives me the information. I copy it, put it in an email, put it into your Google Classroom, however you're communicating with your students. And most of the software has some sort of code or some sort of meeting ID that you share to let your participants know that that's what you're using. All right, any quick questions before we move on to Zoom, or away from Zoom? All right. Google Meet is the other kind of, in this medium group, the other one that people are talking about and trying to figure out. And if you are a Google school, you have access to use Google Meet for free. If you're not part of a Google school, then they have a business option that you can pay for it. But I would assume that most of you are Google schools. So just make sure that you just type in meet.google.com. If you get to it another way, like if I was going to, if I just Googled Google Meet, the first few options all come up with the business side of it, and it talks about how to pay for it. So the easiest thing to do is just make sure you type in meet.google.com, and then you'll have to sign into your account, and then you can join or start a meeting. I have not found a way to let me schedule something ahead of time. So this is something where you would just send out in Google Classroom or an email, say, hey, I'm going to be online at 2 o'clock. And so everybody gets ready about 2 o'clock. You join, and then once you join, it gives you a code that you would then send out or put into Google Classroom or okay, so trying to get connected here. So if I go to join now, then it should give me the code. Yeah, so there's the code that you would send out to your students. And Google Meet lets you also have up to 100 people, and it lets you present or share your slides. I'm going to get out of this because, and you can see all of your participants at once. So it's very similar to Zoom. Zoom and Google Meet are probably the closest things to each other. So the difference between Zoom and Google Meet, Zoom is paid, Google Meet would be free, but you don't have the option to record, and I didn't see an easy way to schedule Google Meet class ahead of time. One other difference is Zoom does have a small download. So if you're getting on with students that have never used Zoom before, you guys probably had to do this. You click on the link and it asks you to download something, and then you have to install it. Google Meet, it all runs through Chrome. So there's no download or anything like that. So that sometimes that extra step of just downloading something and getting it installed is enough to put some people over the edge. You know, they just can't get it to work. So there is just that option of no download in Google Meet. And then I'm also mentioning Skype, same thing. It can have up to 50 people in it. It is a Microsoft product. You can run it through the web or you can download it. And it does have some screen sharing capabilities. But again, if I would look at these two first, unless you're a Microsoft school. Any questions? Are we good? Okay. One other thing I did forget to mention is these will all work as with on your iPhone or iPad or your Android phone. So if you are setting it up with parents who have a wide variety of devices, they should all be able to download the apps for any of these to work on their phones.
If you are like recording in Zoom and you want to like push that out to your students, how do you do? Can you do that where you can push it out to your students on Google Classroom?
Yes. So when I'm done here with this session, I'll end the meeting and a little box will pop up and it'll say, do you want to copy your recording or whatever? And you say yes, and it'll download a MP4 video file onto your desktop or Google Drive or wherever you want it. And then you would just put that into Google Classroom.
Okay.
And then the very last thing, again, if you have a need for larger groups, there is Zoom Webinar and then GoToWebinar. Both of those are paid. Not terribly expensive, but not something that I would expect a teacher to pay for. But I just wanted to put those out there. I don't think I have any college professors here, but you would use something like that if you were teaching a larger lecture class. I do have some information on HIPAA. We briefly talked about it. Google and HIPAA, all of the Google products are HIPAA compliant as long as it's called a BAA, as long as that BAA is signed and checked. And I'm assuming that your administrators did that when they signed up. And then Zoom is HIPAA compliant with the paid version, definitely. With the free version, it sounds like that shouldn't be an issue right now at this time. And then I have one other thing that I want to mention with any of these products is if you have a code or a link and you send that out, just be aware that if a student were to forward that link or if you put it on a website that was public, then other than Zoom, the Google Meets and Skype and all of those things, basically anybody can join your call if they have the link. And so what's been happening is now with everybody using Zoom and Google Meet, they're having Zoom bombing, which is where if the link is public, you'll have hackers get on and start posting inappropriate images or racist comments or those kinds of things. You know, just one more thing that we have to worry about, which is unfortunate. But so try to keep those links as private as possible. You know, send them to email addresses, put them in Google Classroom because Google Classroom is a closed system. I would not post them online. With the Zoom software, you can schedule a meeting just like I did with this one, and you can have people register. So I went in beforehand and just looked, and I didn't recognize all of your names, but I'm assuming I recognized most of your email addresses. So I can kind of gauge whether or not everybody that's joining my meeting is appropriate. In Zoom also, you can kick people out and you can block them. Once your meeting is started, you can lock the meeting so nobody else can join. So they have some controls in Zoom that will help with that. And so I would encourage you, I didn't see all of those controls in Google Meet. That doesn't mean that they're not there. I just am not as familiar with it. But I would encourage you to take that in consideration and look at those beforehand so you know what to do if somebody is in your group that shouldn't be there.
Tim, isn't there also the ability to add a password to get in?
On Zoom, there is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about Google Meet. I forgot to mention this, and I wanted to say this. Google Meet only works kind of like Google Classroom. It only works within your organization. So that would be a little bit of a protection there. Is you can't have random people getting in unless they have an email address that is associated with the school. So that would help with that. You would only have people from your school be able to access Google Meet. But that might be a problem if you are trying to meet with parents and you're using the parents' information instead of the students' information. So it gets a little tricky when you're using the Google products within the school.
Did you say these are better for kids that are a little older, and like intermediate or junior high?
I think it would be appropriate for anybody with anybody under third grade that hasn't used Chromebooks in school already. Like my daughter's in fourth grade and they use Chromebooks regularly, and she's been Zooming with her teacher, or a Facebook meeting with her teacher. I'm sorry, Google meeting with her teacher, because they are used to that environment already. With younger kids, if you want to do something like this, you really need the parents' support, signing them in and getting that. So I'm not sure it would be as appropriate, but it might be something to do with a few kids at a time, 2 or 3, just so that they can see each other. Like I said, that connection is kind of what's important right now, is they can see some of their classmates and those kinds of things. But yes, this is definitely probably 3rd, 4th grade and up, especially if you're looking at trying to do any kind of content delivery.
So for the littles, would you suggest more of the Class Dojo or Seesaw that you're going to talk about tomorrow?
Yes. Sending out videos from the teacher that are already kind of pre-made, and then having the students respond in Class Dojo and Seesaw are both a little more kid-friendly, younger kid-friendly. They can link to the parents also, so you're not tied into the Google environment where you can't use email addresses outside the school email, those kinds of things. So there's some benefits to those for younger kids but they do not have the live video option. Any other questions? I'm kind of done with my presentation. I'm willing to show you guys how to sign up for any of these or any particular questions you might have. See if this was helpful.
What YouTube channel is this going to be on?
It will be on my personal YouTube channel. I have all of your email addresses. I'll send you a link. I just created that channel this morning, so I'm not exactly sure of what I'm doing with it. So I don't know what the address is yet or anything like that, but I will send it to you. I was playing around with it this morning, and I found a bunch of videos that my kids had put into my channel, so I had to figure out how to delete those first so that it's a more professional account. We're all learning this. I love technology, but there are some things that, I'm just like, I I've never done a YouTube channel before. I really don't know what I'm doing. So we're all learning at this point.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Um,
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
In that slide number 3, I wrote down the site, but I forgot what it was for. The BIT.
Yeah, so that's a direct link to the presentation you're seeing right now. So
Oh,
this Google Slides, if you want it.
okay, got it. Okay.
I am offering these free sessions Monday through Thursday for the next few weeks until we go back to school or whatever. And so I'm sending out a schedule a week at a time. If there's any topics that you guys are interested in me doing, just email me and let me know. Make sure that you visit the website. I didn't put that up here. The website is whengrouplearn.com, whengrouplearn.com, and that will have a list of the sessions that I'm doing, as well as a place for you to sign up for email reminders. So please do that so that I can get those emails out to you for any trainings you might need. And like I said, I don't want the groups to get too big. I like the small groups and being able to chat and things. If they get much bigger than this, then it gets hard to kind of manage. But feel free to send this out to your colleagues and have them sign up for any of these sessions that they might be interested in. Tomorrow we have Communicate with Younger Students and Parents with Seesaw and Class Dojo. Kind of already mentioned that. Wednesday I'm going to be talking about special education issues. This one is kind of a wide open topic, so if you are planning on attending it, just email me with maybe what you're looking for, because I'm having it's an important topic, but it's so wide and open that I'm not really sure what I should focus on. And then on Thursday, some STEM or STEAM activities that you can have your kids do at home for those unstructured times that they have, and they're probably driving their parents crazy. So you can tell the parents, have them do this, and there's some fun activities that they can do. So,
Are you doing office hours again today?
I can stay on afterwards if anybody has some questions. I'm not opening up office hours only because after I read that article on Zoom bombing, I don't want to put just open links out there. So yeah, so I'll be glad to stay on if you have particular questions.
Kathy, are you able to stay on a minute? She's still here.
I think
Kathy?
I think she logged off. I don't see her on my screen.
There she is. Kathy? I see you, Kathy.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Will you stay on a minute and we can ask him about that for Payson? Just give me a thumbs up if you can stay for a minute.
Okay, awesome. Does anybody else have any other questions or any other concerns or topics that you would like me to cover?
I'm just going to say hi to Raimi and then I'm going to get off.
Okay.
How are you?
Alive.
Yep. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, thank you everybody for attending. Like I said, I'll hang on if you have specific questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and a great week.
Thank you. You too.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Okay, Tim, we have Google Classroom. I'm
Okay.
kindergarten, and so I was having the kids sign in with their iPads. However, I have a student who's using an Android account, and the mom has a like a family link email, and she's been trying to log on, and she's not able to. And we don't know if it's our school security or if it's her.
No, so this is, I did this with my daughters. We had an old Android phone laying around and she wanted to sign into her school account to get into her Google Docs or whatever. Android, to protect children, you cannot sign in a parent. A parent can't be signed into the phone. So I'm assuming it's the parent's phone. So when they set it up, they signed in. you can't sign in a student that's under 13 onto that account. It's just a protection that they have. And that includes school accounts and things like that. So what I had to do was, since it was an old phone, just wipe it clean and then put my daughter's information in as the owner of the phone. I don't think your parent is going to want to do that. So
It's an Android tablet. I know it is an older
it's just the
on their laptop, but
yeah, they're going to have to probably find a different device for her to access her email
okay.
account. And unfortunately, I read through all the help files, and that's basically what it came up with. Was there's no
And
way.
that really makes sense, because Kathy's on here. We've been racking our brains like, no, we've gave the kids access. They can
Right.
access it at home, and
Was
it
she
still
not,
wasn't working.
was she having trouble using his email address, or what was she doing?
Yeah. She could not log in on their Android tablet.
Okay.
Yes, and that makes sense, because he had his code, he had his email. Yeah.
It's because you cannot have the owner of the device cannot log in anybody under 13.
Let me write that down. The owner of the device cannot log in anyone under 13.
Which includes school addresses.
Okay.
Um,
That's what Stephanie was having a problem with, Kathy.
yeah, and there's no good workaround like I said, other than if they have the option to just reformat the device, and when they set it up with the kids' information. That's not necessarily easy to do either, because that you run into all kinds of problems with that. But that's the only thing that I found that worked.
Okay. No, that answers my question. Thank you. So, okay. Kathy, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's weird. Would there be a reason why, remember how early on, I was not able to hear Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, it has happened at least 4 or 5 times, just randomly my mute button clicks on. I'm not even touching it. It just happened a few minutes ago. Is there something that...
I know that I can mute you, like, but I did not purposely mute anybody during this session, so I don't know why that would be.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's a quick, easy fix. Just click the key, but I just wondered.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Judy, are you good?
Now, I tried Zoom for the first time Friday. I did a Zoom chat with my second graders, just whoever was able, and it was more just a social, like, so everybody could see everybody. And I had 12 out of my 18 show up, and it was fun. And I was going to do another one this week, but now I'm wondering if I should wait and watch your other thing tomorrow about the...
So what is the purpose of the Zoom call? Was it just for kind of fun and seeing everybody?
Yes, for right now, it was just so that they could see their friends and socialize for a few minutes, because they didn't, I mean, they're not seeing each other. And I think we were out there for maybe a half hour. I cut it off, I think, at 30 minutes. It was, we started where everybody was just talking over everybody, and then I muted everyone. And then at a time I let them just share something exciting, silly, funny, whatever they wanted to tell everybody else.
And I think that that's a great way for the younger kids to use it. And I still think that that's important. You probably don't, obviously want to do that every day.
No.
But if you're, what tomorrow's session is going to be on is using Seesaw and Class Dojo to send out more like assignments.
Okay,
or instructions or things that you want to communicate more academics to them.
okay,
So,
all right.
yeah, so the social part is still very important, and Zoom's a great way for everybody to kind of be on at once and see that. Tomorrow is going to be more about setting up assignments and those kind of things.
Okay, and that one's at 1 o'clock again?
Yes, everything's at 1.
Okay, all right, I'll pay.
And
definitely
will
sign
we
up for
will
that
we
one.
be able to record in Class Dojo and Seesaw?
Well, so Class Dojo and Seesaw are you mean you record the video?
Yeah, like if I'm thinking I'm gonna need to teach and then push that out.
So you they work best with like a phone or a tablet, and so you would
Okay.
record yourself using your phone or your tablet, and then you just import that that video into Class Dojo or
Okay.
Seesaw.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I have to go buy a new iPad today anyway because my other one I can't update anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Loading Google Classroom on it, and it was like, no. I'll be getting out today. So.
Yeah. Laura, how about you? Are you good?
Mary, go to the school and pick
I'm
up
good,
one of the
thank
iPads. Go to the school and pick up one of the Chromebooks.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
gonna ask
You
Kathy,
can
can I
use
just
Class
take an
Dojo for
iPad from school?
Chromebook. Sorry. I was you can use Class Dojo through your Chromebook. So I do that through my computer. I do my videos.
Yeah, I believe so.
They have an option now in there on Class Dojo. It's right on the main page where the parents can see it and access it. And I just post a video right on there. It'll say record, hit record, and it takes my picture, my video of me talking, but it's only 8 minutes long.
Right, yes.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, they've made it fairly easy to use your camera now to post videos and stuff.
Sorry, I don't know if I picture, but yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate
Thank you.
your time.
Thank
and,
you.
Awesome. Thank you. It's so
all right.
good seeing everyone.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
We'll see ya.
Thank you.